So good morning, and you're welcome to take it away.
Thank you, Lynn. Good morning, everybody. Here we are for the Transforming Spanish Language Education, Creating and Implementing OER in California Community Colleges. That's our presentation, and now you are going to meet the team. Here are the 4 members of the team. Dr. Cristina Moon, Professor of Spanish, OER CTC Coordinator at Chabot College. Sarah Harmon, Dr. Sarah Harmon, Adjunct Professor of Spanish and Linguistics, OER CTC Coordinator at Cañada College. Dr. Alejandro Lee, Professor of Spanish at Santa Monica College, and Hugo Díaz Rodil, Instructor of Spanish at Sierra College and at American River College. Now, from the members of the team to the OER journey. So we're going to see how all this started. So we began our journey in 2020 with the launch of our first OER Spanish grammar manual called Entrada Libre. Entrada Libre complements Acceso from University of Kansas. So once we had the Spanish grammar manual, Entrada Libre, we realized that there was something missing, and that is having OER homework. That was a roadblock to switching away from publisher materials, for example, the homework platforms such as MinTab, Connect, Vista Higher Learning Supersite, and MyLab. So with that in mind, being aware of that lack, in 2023, we released our second project, Tarea Libre, a homework collection for first-year Spanish courses. Now, after that, in 2024, we continue our third project, which is called Tarea Libre 2, homework for second-year Spanish courses. All right, I'm going to minimize the window. Perfect. So why we use LibreText and Adapt? So we built upon the strong connection between the academic senate of California Community Colleges, Open Educational Resources Initiative, and LibreText. So why LibreText? LibreText is not only one of the largest repository of open educational resources, but also a platform for building and customizing textbooks, which is a very important feature for OER, being able to customize the textbooks. So then, for the homework, Adapt is LibreText's adaptive homework system that can be set up to tie into your grade book via LTI. And that's what we have been using, Adapt. So why we chose LibreText and Adapt for our Open Educational Resources project? What was the reason? Well, first, LMS integration. So it's both are compatible with various learning management systems, ensuring the smooth access for all users. So you can integrate both into, for example, Canvas. Second, accessibility compliance. Follows accessibility standards, offering accessible content and question types. So you do not need to worry as much as when you use other resources, other publishers, about the accessibility component, because it's already built into the Adapt and LibreText. Third, print and download options. So you can print the materials, you can download it and use it offline. And that's also a very good feature of these resources. And last but not least, faculty support. Both platforms offer faculty support through office hours, workshops, and tutorials. And if you have any questions, any issues, they are very quickly to reply to you. And this is already me. No, this is
mine.
Alejandro, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hugo. Thank you very much for coming, everyone. Our first project was Entrada Libre, which is a workbook for second-year Spanish, and it can be used as a supplement for Acceso from University of Kansas or Antología Abierta de Literatura Hispana, which is a literature textbook. The funding came from the Academic Senate for California Community College Open Educational Resources Initiative, OERI, and we selected an open license. We had excellent technical support from LibreText, the platform, and the work was completed in about a year after revisions to make it accessible. Next. Entrada Libre includes 24 grammar topics accompanied by readings that reflect the grammar points and a detailed grammar explanation. Each section has self-graded H5P exercises. Next. And our second project is called Tarea Libre. It's a collection of first-year Spanish homework items. We follow the curriculum established by California community colleges, and like Entrada Libre, it has an open license and the same source of funding. Thanks to free technologies and new features by LibreText, we created media or use openly licensed materials. LibreText has been extremely supportive of our feedback and requests for new features. And we launched Tarea Libre in May of 2023. Next. The 14 modules in Tarea Libre contain 1,400 activities. Each has 4 to 5 sections of grammar and vocabulary exercises categorized in 5 steps. Preliminary, let's start, let's continue, let's practice, and let's go beyond. We recognize the different levels of proficiency in our classes and wanted to offer a variety of exercises. Moreover, we added 3 comprehensive tests that address speaking, listening, and reading. Next. And our third project is similar to Tarea Libre, but this one centers on second-year Spanish homework items. This time, however, funding came from LibreText and the California ZTC, Zero Textbook Cost Acceleration Grant. We're currently working on it and we expect to launch it in a few weeks. Next. The modules are similar to that of Tarea Libre for first year. This time we have 800 activities divided in 8 modules, and instead of having a preliminary step, we choose to have de todo un poco, a potpourri of activities. In addition to the 3 comprehensive assessments, a new feature from LibreText allowed us to create a threaded dialogue, which we called Conversemos. Thank you. And I think, Cristina, Sara, you're next.
I'm next. Gracias, Alejandro. So next part, we're going to talk a little bit about the components, the highlights of the ADAPT questions that are offered. And we have introduced many of them in Tarea Libre 2. So they're called native questions. They are built within ADAPT, and you find, some of the typical fill in the blanks, matching, not so much matching, but fill in the blanks and multiple choice. They also have select choice, which is like a drop-down menu. And one of the newest one that we've been playing around with was highlight text. Probably one of the coolest features of ADAPT, and the fact that it's really great for OER projects, is the fact that you can clone the activities. By cloning the activity, you can create a copy version of it, which allows you to make changes, edit, and personalize it. So if you don't like the instructions, that they are all in Spanish, you can go in and change that by cloning that same activity. The audio recordings that are part of the assessment of the Tarea Libre 2 are these non-auto-graded activities. We call them hablemos. These are like the speaking tests. So on this side, you will see how the student will see it. You have a prompt. You will be able to see this recorder widget with the microphone. So you press that, and the recorder starts. Student listens. They like it, they submit. On this side, you will see how the instructor will see it as there are different activities, but this is how you will see it. You will be able to provide feedback, and then the grade. And if you have the LTI completed, then that grade gets populated automatically in your Canvas Blackboard. So Alejandro mentioned our newest tool. We call it Conversemos, and it is, if you are familiar with VoiceThread or Flip, it is trying to mimic that kind of type of interaction that happens, and it is crucial for language courses where students should be able to practice those oral skills. So Conversemos, which in ADAPT is called Discuss It, it lets you create like a page where you can put the instructions. This one has a video embedded in there. And then you could have students interact. The interactions could be a text, but the coolest part is that you can have students also do audio and video recordings. So you could have asynchronous type of conversations between students. You could put them in groups. And the best thing is that all these recordings that are produced are auto captioned and transcribed. So a few more pictures of, for example, this one is from one that I created for my class, where students have to create a chain story. So I put them in groups, they have a picture, and they have to create a story based on the photograph, the image that I put in there. And you can see, the first student comes in, records, second student comes in, listens to that, and continues the story. So you would have a chain story, all narrated in this case. In terms of the impacts of our first two projects, since those are the first two that we've been able to look into, the numbers in terms of how many people have come in and look at the materials have been increasing. But probably the best part out of all the projects is the fact that people have come in and remixed and created even better versions of our original OER. So we hope that in the future that keeps growing, and the same way that we learn from previous projects, we hope that other groups come in and create even better looking OERs. Who is using ADAPT? And we were focusing for the Spanish courses. So ADAPT has been around for about a year, but we've been kind of looking at the numbers. Steadily has increased. And these are some of the institutions that have been using ADAPT for Spanish.
So all of this work has been based in a number of practices, including, and more importantly for this presentation, on inclusive practices in general. So we wanted to be inclusive. It was a little bit required of us, certainly with the last two projects, but it was also part of the first project as well. It was important for us to have this inclusive mindset because Spanish is a highly diverse language with respect to its speech communities. There is no one type of Spanish speaking community. We wanted to try and show as much representation as possible. We wanted to also make sure that these were all materials that could be used by pretty much anyone. So using a universal design for learning as a background for how we set up our assignments and how we set up our content, and just doing very straightforward setups with respect to how we're putting our content together and making it so that as many people can understand it and use it and interact with it as possible. We have made accessibility a start from a piece, not just in the representation side, but in how we put our materials together. Next slide. So that was probably the biggest reason that we started with Tarea Libre in originally H5P, but we quickly switched to ADAPT when we could get our hands on it because of the fact that we could automatically make sure that our assignments, all types of assignments, were completely accessible. And it's been a really great process to work with the ADAPT folks and say, hey, look, for foreign language, we really would like to have this kind of question type or this kind of availability, and that the ADAPT folks would not only do it, but do it in a way that was accessible. That's been a huge issue with a number of foreign language material projects that have come out from most of the main publishers. Is stuff like fill in the blank and multiple choice is always fairly, if not completely accessible, but the cool stuff, the stuff that everybody wants to be able to do, has not been there. So to be able to work with a partner like LibreText and ADAPT, to be able to have these options that you see in the slide, this has been so huge. And I will say the last piece is probably or second to last piece is the biggest one and the most recent one. The fact that the discuss it question type, yes, it's auto captioning and it auto transcribes, but the fidelity rate, not just in English, but in languages other than English, particularly the main ones that are spoken, like Mandarin and Spanish, the fidelity rate is in the high 90%. It is outstanding, the work that is happening. Next slide. With respect to representation, yes, our last two projects were funded and by the OERI, with the caveat that we follow the idea framework that they created. But as I said, this was actually part of the, in many ways, it was represented in even our first project. The Academic Center for the California Community Colleges and its Open Educational Resources Initiative came out with its IDEA framework in 2022. This IDEA is basically the same acronym that you have heard, just letters are in a different order: inclusion, diversity, equity, anti-racism, meaning that that all projects funded by the OERI are meant to have connections with culturally responsive education. And you see two examples here, both on the left with a reading that focuses on Albert Espinosa, who is a Paralympian, and on the right in discussing a little bit on the history of Tacos al Pastor and its connection to the Levantine community that immigrated into the area in and around Mexico City and Puebla. So using the IDEA framework to showcase how diverse Spanish-speaking speech communities are. Next slide. If you want to know more about IDEA and the framework in particular, on the slide deck, you can see the webinars is underlined. That's a link to the OERI webinars. We have a slew of them on so many different topics, different projects, different disciplines, and you can use the search function to just type in IDEA. And as you can see, quite a few of the webinars have been on this topic, including in this past May, which focused on the assessment process associated with the framework. This has been an evolving project for the OERI as well. Next slide. Cristina, is that me or you?
So release dates. We are currently finishing up our Tarea Libre 2, which is almost done. We have our reviewers going through our materials right now. We are expecting it to be released towards the end of this fall. So people that want to come and take a look, be able to find it. If you go to LibreText Commons, and this is the screenshot of how it looked, you can do a search for the name, and under homework, you'd also be able to find it. Our next project is to go back to our first OER that, it's been 4 years, a little over 4 years. So we are hoping to go back and make some updates based on the fact that we added more sections on Tarea Libre 2, the homework. So we have more sections in the homework than on the manual. So we're going back and adding those. So we're expecting to be done sometime in the summer. So we do want to thank our many collaborators and our newest collaborators. We had our co-authors come and help on this project as well. We have had other volunteers that have either written for us articles and readings, but also recorded for us our many voiceover type of assignments, and obviously the LibreText and Adapt team, who I believe they'll be presenting later today. So if you want to know more about Adapt and LibreText, please look on the schedule. I believe it's the last session. And the ASCCC OERI that have been there and funded us from the beginning. And many other colleagues that have been there listening to us and watching our progress along the way. So the same way that you can look for the other webinars, you can do the same thing. You can go on the search box, type Spanish, and you can find all the Spanish ones too. And LibreText also holds workshops, and you can watch the recordings in their YouTube channel. And if you are interested in how Tarea Libre looks, if you have a phone and you can go into the Tarea Libre 2 and get a preview of the activities. We have included a little bit of everything. We have some select choice, that drop-down menus, and fill in the blanks. We included the speaking tests, a reading, and the newest Discuss-It, the Conversemos. You know, we call it like the voice thread flip rate version of it, but OER version of that. And I believe that's all we have. So, and we did finish early so we could take in questions. I do want to mention that a lot of us in California, we are looking into what one of your campuses has created in terms of Spanish OER. And I think it was mentioned on, I don't know if Alejandro mentioned that, but it's one of the probably most complete. I'm going to go back to the beginning, sorry. Oh, there we go. Chévere, which is one of the most complete Spanish OERs for first year. And a lot of us in California are using this OER from one of your universities that it has helped us create our homework, Tarea Libre, the first one. So I do want to thank the team that was behind, I believe it's Suni Onionta, that worked on this great OER for first year Spanish. So, and I want to end it there. Yes, Oneonta. Yes. Is it Corey? Are you from Oneonta? Are you from the team?
No, I'm from SUNY OER Services.
Oh,
But I know the Oneonta folks, yes, did produce that a while back.
yes.
And some of them are here in the summit, presenting and participating in different ways.
I think when we all started looking for OER, we found pieces of it, you know, but not enough to be able to be used for an entire year. So it makes it very difficult to leave the publisher behind if you could only use it for one semester. And I think, at least for me, this was probably the most complete program that we found, and I used a lot of it to create a remix that I currently use, and many of us use, you know, for first year Spanish. So we thank the team. So we're here to pay back and share the homework. So if other teams are looking to pair up their OER, you know, the textbook side with homework, our homework has been, the first one, Tarea Libre, the first one has been mixed up and pair up with other OER, so they'll have the book and the homework all for, you know, as an OER. So I have, thank you.
Corey, you asked a question in the chat about our other faculty on our campuses using it. It's very spread out as far as adoption. So Alejandro and I are the only ones in our own campuses that are using this at this time, are using our tech at this time. Although I will say my college is in a 3-college district, and I have colleagues at one of my sister campuses that is using ADAPT as well. This is, as you saw from the list, this is actually being used more and more throughout the California Community College system. More and more other, I think we had at least 1 or 2 California State Universities on that list as well. Cristina and Hugo, I don't know about your institution, so.
That American River College is being used for Tarea Libre 1 by different members, different faculty. And I'm using it at Sierra College.
Yeah. I've been testing out and using Tarea Libre from from the beginning as well, and Entrada Libre. I think it, like all OER authors, co-authors, we all try to test it out and see how it works. With the Conversemos, the newest tool, Sarah and I have been piloting it in our own classes. And that is probably, I mean, it is one of the main reasons why we are a little delayed in releasing our current project, because we wanted to see how it works and how we can add those question types into our latest project. We believe that not only just for language courses where oral communication is very important, but other disciplines that could use that kind of activity where students are asked to record voice, video, and communicate within, do even presentations. I think it is probably one of the coolest tools that we have, that is OER, and that could be mixed up and included with other fill in the blanks and the usual. So thank you for the question. And if you are interested, about looking into our projects, there are recordings of webinars. We are planning to do other training webinars for the OERI. Do we put the link to the OERI? Let's see.
No, but I can.
I put the link to, that's the webinar page where you can go, the upcoming webinars and also the archives. So you can go and find all the recorded archive collections. So every semester we have webinars for Spanish. So we invite new guests to talk about their OERs, but also do short workshops on how to use our different tools.
Thank you so very much. All of this was extremely interesting. And then I'm going to end the recording.